Ooh, Redline. It's only a tiny podcast.
Beginning. So, welcome back to Hurd Ya Saw. We're in reduced form today. I am joined by the lovely EJ Lee with Sean Narborough in the background. Give us a hey, Sean. He's a hard-working boy right now. EJ and I just partook of a film that I am... Oh, God, I love this film so much. It's a lot of fun. Redline by Takeshi Koike. It's his feature film debut. It was the first film feature he'd ever made.
That's obvious.
EJ, can I get your one-line hot take of Redline?
I feel like I was just beaten over the head with a kaleidoscope.
That's pretty accurate. I would say, if you've ever wondered what the cartoon show The Wacky Races would be like if it had been made in Japan, this is the film for you. EJ, would you like to try and recount the plot?
Fucking hell. Alright. So, it's an interplanetary worlds situation.
In the far distant future, so
Yeah.
the opening text crawl tells us.
And a dude named JP
Yes.
is
Sweet JP is his
racing
nickname.
in a race
Yes.
called Yellow Line.
Yes.
And it is the qualifying race for Redline.
Yes.
And his mechanic friend
Frisbee.
sabotages his car in order to win money
Yes.
because he's in deep with the mafia.
Yes.
So JP loses but eventually qualifies anyway. And also the winner is a girl named...
Sonoshi McLaren.
Yep.
Just for background, the reason that he qualifies is that the Redline race has a secret location that isn't revealed until all the qualifiers are made known, and they reveal it's going to be on the secret military base Robo World, controlled by the Robo Empire in the M3 Nebula. And a lot of racers are like, nah, they're just going to try and murder us if we go there. I ain't down with that.
Yeah.
So JP gets in through public votes thinking, yeah, he should have a go. And that's the setup.
So they go to Robo World, and he soups up his car with some kind of nitro engine.
Yes.
And has flashbacks to knowing childhood Sonoshi.
Yep, he and Sonoshi
that's
knew each other when they were kids briefly.
Kind of never really explained, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's not what this movie's about.
No. And then there's like more reveals of like, oh, Frisbee's also planning to throw the race by planting a bomb again. And there's a bunch of other racers and amazing soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack's so good.
So good.
Multiple characters have their own theme songs.
Yeah.
Like with full vocals.
Which is amazing. Eventually the race starts and they're racing and shit, and then Robo World's army is trying to kill everybody, and they set loose a bioweapon called Funky Boy.
That is correct.
Who is alive, kind of,
Yep.
and then they try to disintegrate him with some pyramids in space, and they disintegrate him briefly, and then he comes back, and then the general, like, is eaten by a squid, and then becomes a pink thing that fights with the disintegrated Funky Boy, and then they explode, and that's never really explained. And they win because they, like, hyper nitrous their car, and then they explode, and the Machine Man is, like, almost winning, but then they, Frisbee, like, detonates the car, and then they win, and they fly through the air as, like, their car disintegrates, and their love holds them together, and it's all very weird.
Boom.
Yeah.
That is actually, considering that an awful lot happens in what is a very simple plot,
Yeah.
that's a good recounting. EJ, What did you make of this movie?
I'd like to start by saying I don't like cartoons. So this was a great movie to watch. I actually didn't mind this. I really could have done with more racing and less random shit.
Yes.
Like, love story, didn't need that. Mafia plot, didn't need that. Show me 2 hours of that race, I would have been, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Also, the dude in front of me was too tall.
Oh,
so
no.
I was really uncomfortable and I couldn't fully enjoy it.
Oh shit, we should have moved.
I should have just gotten the fucking booster seat. Like, I should have. I've done that before and it worked fine.
Yeah.
I almost moved and then I was like, nah.
Nah.
Let's be uncomfortable.
I have a lot of love for this film. Takeshi Koike is a director. He cut his teeth. The thing he's best known for in the West is one of the shorts in the Animatrix anthology, specifically World Record, which you may recall. Have you seen the Animatrix? Well, if you don't like animation, then...
I have not.
Yeah.
No.
Some of it is quite good. Other parts of it,
believe you.
less good. Much like the Matrix films.
Yeah.
Ooh. But he's very well known for his hyperkinetic visual style, wherein everything is moving
At all times.
all the time, but everything is also really, really detailed.
Yeah, it's incredible, but also you never know where anything is or what's going on. Everything is always exploding or flying by at the speed of light.
Or spinning really fast.
Yeah, it's like absolute insanity for the entire film, and it's like relentless.
I think one of the things I quite like about it is that it does a really good job of establishing the supporting cast, such as they are,
Yes.
the other races, really quite well.
Yeah.
And it does a lot of stuff of TV shows within the movie. So
Yeah.
you have all like the race interviews with the different races, and they're all done in like a different style. So you have Lynchman and Johnny Boyer,
Yeah.
who are basically Batman and Robin,
Yeah.
like a pastiche thereof, but are also bounty hunters, and are also being paid by the race people to sabotage the hyperdimensional disintegration cannons
Yeah.
in space. And they have like a whole little thing where you see them being bounty hunters and stuff. You have the guy who's a hard-bitten police officer who's wanted for police brutality and is maybe having an affair with his secretary.
It's all very weird.
It's weird, but it gives
In a good way.
It gives the characters a real sense of like three-dimensionality.
Yeah.
Like I love that like Machine Head, who's effectively the antagonist, I guess.
Kind of.
Like it's more them.
You're never like rooting against him.
No, he seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, I'm like, if you won, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. Just his theme song's really dope.
Yeah.
Machine Head.
It's so good.
It's like a fucking 70s cop show.
Yeah.
But I love that in his interview, it's just him also holding like this really cute dog.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he has a dog. Oh, okay. This sort of contextualizes this character somewhat. This movie is visually ridiculous.
Yes.
Not only in the sheer scope of it and like the colors. Oh my god, it's so bright and mobile and just everything animates really, really well.
Yeah.
But it also was created almost exclusively with 2D animation.
Yeah.
And they really tried hard to sort of not use 3D CGI because Takeshi Koike famously doesn't like that stuff that much. So they used a lot of clever and new techniques to sort of composite in elaborate 2D sequences so they came together in an effect to look like 3D. So from an animation standpoint, it's just like, oh, I see how you did all this and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
The plot is ridiculous. Like,
it doesn't need one.
yeah,
Like,
it's a race.
it's trying really hard to have like a plot, and sometimes, and I'm just like, if you just left it at this race, I'd be into it.
If you just threw all these boys at the camera, we're just
Yeah.
like they're going, and you're like cool.
If you just did more stuff within the race itself,
Mm.
I would have been more okay with that, rather than like in Act 2 there's this like kind of like romance and stuff, and you're just like, I'm bored with this. Get me to the race now.
I think the romance, while it is a little bit tacked on, I mean, it does do that thing of kind of zipping off into almost full-on fantasy.
Yes.
Because right at the end, like, minus spoilers, before he said they win. I mean, of course they're gonna fucking win.
Yeah.
Their car is disintegrated and they're flying forward at like 1,000 billion miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then they cross the finish line, like, just flying themselves.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, they're dead.
Yeah.
Like,
that happens
that's
a
it.
few times.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, but they're just themselves, like,
Yeah.
flying along. Like, I think as the race continues, you get this more and more outlandish sense of unreality.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's literally, like, that princess who's a sub-character from one of the planets who can literally do magic.
Yeah. And you're just like, okay, let's
Yep,
go with this.
Yep, rolling with it.
I guess that's
rolling
happening.
with it.
Yeah.
The visual design of everything is really cool. Like, it evokes, oh god, so many things. Like, it does superhero stuff. The Trans Am that JP drives is, like, you know, a fucking 1970s era American muscle car.
Yeah, and he's like built like Tron Travolta in Grease.
Yep.
That's his vibe.
With the massive
Yeah.
duck fit, what's it called, a duckbill hairstyle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is horrific.
Oh, he has his knife comb.
Yeah. Oh my god. So ridiculous.
And you have, like, the whole little subplot of, like, one of the racers used to be in the army and then he quit, and then his mate from the army is coming to find him and is, like, trying to beat him up while crying because he's like, I
Yeah.
wanted to go and race, but I love the army too much. It's
There's
high
so
melodrama.
much going on.
But I think it's a testament to the pacing of the film that, if anything, like you said, the second act is definitely a bit of a sense of a lull, like, in terms
Yeah.
of the energy of it, because the races themselves, of which there are two, are super intense.
Yeah.
And, like, once you're in them, you're, like, locked in for, like, what? It's like the third act is basically
It's the
all
entire
race.
race, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a good 30-odd minutes.
Yeah, at
or
least
something.
40. I
Yeah,
think,
30, 40
yeah.
minutes of just non-stop action. Holy shit. And so the lull is there, and like you say, they could easily have just made this, you know, one entire massive race.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that they managed to have a lot of good moments of, like, actual, like, quiet and contemplation and characters sort of not really doing anything. Like, I do quite like the scene where you just sort of see all the racers, like, doing their own little thing and everything, and, you know, giving that up to the camera. Also, I really liked when they're all getting into their cars at the start of the race. They all have their own little rituals or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, the police guy opens up his police badge and, like, has a little picture of his mistress in there, and he's like, I love you. Puts it away. He's a gorilla man as well, just
Yeah.
to throw that in there for the visual
Sure.
components. How much anime have you ever watched, DJ? I sense
I watched
not much.
Pokemon when I was 8, and I watched Yu-Gi-Oh when I was 11.
And nothing since?
No.
Interesting. How do you feel coming back to the genre?
It's more intense than I recall, and more confusing. Yeah.
Right. As we're only two, I suspect this may be a somewhat
This should be a short
a short cast, little wee short cast. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty good. May I steer you towards your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, I overall enjoyed the film. I really, really liked the music. It was
Soundtrack's great.
fucking great, and I want to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I make no secret of the fact that I love this movie. I'm disappointed in all of you, members of the crew.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, who, like, oh, I forgot. You forgot about Redline?
Well, this is the most planned film we've ever had.
I've really been pushing for this one to be like
For
a thing.
at least a month.
Yeah.
We had this planned.
I made this whole anime season as a pretext for us to watch this film together.
God damn it.
Yeah. However, I do own it on Blu-ray, so I can certainly sit people down and force them to watch it if I
Yeah.
want to. But you know what? Nah,
You don't deserve it.
you don't get it this time. My actual final thought, I really like this movie. It's a really interesting artifact of animation from the very early 2000s, where you could, it's a first film, and you say it feels like that, but also I think it's because it's so much unfiltered. Like, clearly, Takeshi Koike was like, I really want to make this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want to make a cool race movie.
Yeah.
And he did exactly that.
I respect that.
Yeah. Other things you should check out, he also did some of the new Lupin the Third movies. People who know about anime will know what that is. Okay, well, this was a short babycast, but it's sometimes nice to have a little short babycast. We will be back, hopefully, with Quiet Place.
That's next.
That's the next one, and
Yeah.
it really is this time, because we lied on the Horns cast.
twice.
We have lied twice. I'm sorry, Ted, we'll get it done. We'll see you next time, and drive your love into the stars.